cold-blooded and be able to say we're not going to do anything to them? Or, well, they refuse to step down. Why do they have a choice in stepping down? Why are they not being killed or going through the death penalty like somebody who was innocent of a crime and then yet they get the death penalty? There is an imbalance. There is something wrong. So today, I want us to have this open discussion about and get into the root of what the problem is and why is the system of religion so ineffective. Now, after we deal with those issues and identify why we are so ineffective, then we have to come up with real solutions. And how can we do things different? How can we move forward to bring healing? Because just Dana said 3 things that were very key to me. He talked about the bloodshed. This is just my opinion. For those of you that are watching via the internet, you're listening to this, or you will go back and listen to it. Dr. ZaMiya is saying, I do not believe that that shooting in Dallas was originated by just somebody angry. What I believe is that it is a diversion from the government to create another smoke screen to move us away from what's really going on with our African American men. And they used a black face to justify it. Those are my personal beliefs. I believe that this was set up by the government. Because now people are moving away from Black Lives Matter to Blue Lives Matter. Now, I don't wish death upon nobody. I don't care what the color of your skin is. I have white people in my family, so I am not prejudiced at all. I love my brother-in-law. I love my nieces and my nephews to no ends. So I don't think anybody should be killed regardless of the color of your skin. But when we live in a system and in a world where the government can create issues that take us away from the issues that really matter, because what's happening with the Black Lives Matter and all of the other protests that are going forth and our younger generation is that they're demanding justice. And they are forcing these conversations to take place that people can no longer just ignore and sweep under the carpet. You have to give an answer. So what's the best way not to answer? To create a diversion. And so nobody's talking about the deaths of these African American no more, African American men no more. Now all we're talking about is the police. So let's open up this conversation. I want to know, how do you feel about the video that our Caucasian brother put out, letting you know that, yeah, you are being treated as slaves. And I just want to go down the line. And then we'll get to you, Dana, okay? So let me put it right here so you can see the panel.
Wow. So we first have to come to the reality that there is something very sinister and demonic on the planet that exists in the universe that is eternal the same way. And if you can embrace that there's something sinister and primal and evil, then you must believe that there has something that exists that is inherently good and above that which is evil. So let me say that. And however you wrestle with that, because we wrestle with that on a daily basis, why do bad things happen to good people? That is the argument for most scholars and theologians called the study of theodicy, right? But we don't have enough time to get into that. However, when we talk about a systemic, dysfunctional, functionalized system that has pathologically been put in place since the colonialized rape of this country by folk who said they discovered something when people were already here. It was a move set up to establish a power structure. That power structure and that system gave birth to our current economic, philosophical, ideological belief system in capitalism, right? Where there is a sweat equity that needs to be put in place so others could benefit from. In order for that system to work, you must have a lower class or a caste system. So then you have to figure out how does that go. So I was reading a particular essay by a gentleman who stated that in the first round of the move of colonizing this particular country, we had white indentured servants who came over. They said that they would serve for a period of time for the wealthier establishments as they came over, their families, in order to pay for the passage to get here. There then became about this movement of slavery and bringing in free work labor. We have a free workforce. So that free workforce came over here and began to take up most of that labor work. And so those who were benefiting from it were receiving 100% dividend, meaning that they didn't have to pay anything out or owe anything to anybody. So these two classes begin to blend. You had the lower poor white individuals and the black slaves who were actually sharing quarters on some of the particular labor institutions. And they begin to understand that at some point we, besides the color of our skin, we are suffering the same systemic situation here. And so, let's talk about how we can rise above this. The minute that came into play, there needed to be a division and a diversion. And so there was put in place to break that particular movement up, where you would have poor white individuals and slaves. And then they said, well, you know what? At least you are better than the slave. Hence the development of racism. Racism is a Western European thought that has been in existence for 400 years. There has never been, when comparing diversity on the planet prior to that, you had tribalism. And tribes would come together either to acquire resources or to partner with another tribe to develop and to grow. So it was never about a full engaged conquering system, because slavery is not new just to America. Slavery is something that has been in place since the beginning of humanity. And in that process, this type of colonialized slavery that the African who is black in America has experienced is different than any other particular slave system on the planet, on the history of the world, where we were systematically demonized and dehumanized, defined as less than human, so that those who were reaping the benefit off of our sweat equity, at the same time saying that they were the chosen or the Christians, that they believed in their theology, had to figure out how do I bridge this dichotomy if I'm a Christian and everybody's made in the image of God, and these dark-skinned people, we look the same except for our color. I have to demonize them. I have to dehumanize them so that they can no longer see or find themselves within the global universal context of humanity. Henceforth, manumission, right? So now we are less than human, quarter humans. Some said we didn't have a soul, therefore we were like the beasts of the field. So this whole system has been put in place by those who have considered themselves founding fathers, who in their own right, when you look through history, it was pretty bloody. They were terrorists. They wiped out a whole indigenous population here in the Western Hemisphere, in what we now know as North America. So in doing that, we've had an opportunity to rise and to gain our humanity back. However, it is at a loss and a cause for those who sit in power. So racism is really a distraction when it comes to understanding the haves and the have-nots. At the top, it's green, and they really don't care. They just need to make sure they can stay in power at the top. But they need like you said, a distraction, a diversion, to keep all of us here plotting and pitting and pulling each other down and dehumanizing and killing and murdering one another. while they benefit from it at the top. Because poverty is big business on the planet. Poverty is big business on the planet. Debt is big business on the planet. So if I can keep you impoverished and in debt, then I'll own you. I'll own you. And you'll always owe me something. And if I always owe you something, then I can never truly exercise or participate in this free system that we currently have. And so we have to figure out now that the true crust of the earth is coming, because you can never really hide the truth. You can try to cover it up a little bit and make it vague, but when the truth comes up and a revolution begins that's radical, that goes against that goes against the establishment, right? The establishment doesn't want to, it's like the matrix. It doesn't want to be broken. It doesn't want to change. There's fear in change. So because of that fear, we now live in this climate where there's an expressed, the word I want to use, overcast on revisiting, demonizing this rising population again. And Minister Farrakhan was right when he read Exodus. Whenever Pharaoh, who was in power, is scared of a growing population, he has to figure out a way how to control it. And if it means killing a portion of the population, that segment that could really rise and cause problems, then that's what he's going to do. And we're looking at a different kind of genocide, particularly that we're experiencing. It is that ugly monster that has been on the planet since the beginning of time. And so now that we have given or shed light on the issue, because the issue has always been here, we've just had exposed media and coverage through the technology that's now saying this is really what injustice looks like. And this is what we are really experiencing. While the rest of the planet or the rest of our community have been sleeping, just kind of being told what was happening, now we're engaged in it. You can smell it and see it and touch it and feel it, and you can feel the hurt and the pain, and you can see those that we put in place to say that they want to protect and serve are really using us and misserving us and really trying to control us, because they understand that like a phoenix from these ashes, somebody is going to rise. And not just one person, but several people are rising, and they're all rising at the same time, and that's problematic. Because you got a man that sits in the capital city of the world who doesn't look like them. And he came from an obscure place. He had a white mother, black father, African father. Father moved on, passed away, left as a single mother, raised him. And so now that's problematic. And so because he came from this place where he shouldn't have, he didn't fit the mold, he broke the mold. And so how many more are left to break the mold? And that's what I think we're dealing with the fear of breaking the mold.
You know, Dr. Z, I think that part of the problem, and I love Brother Dana. I listened to him the other night. I shared and liked what he was saying. He made a very powerful statement, and let me just share right in line with what Brother Washington is saying. The reality is that the system is not broken. The system is doing what the system was designed to do. It was never meant to be anything for people with this color. The system was never designed for the sake of causing people of color to ever be equal. There is a white sister, Brother Dana, that is an educator. She's a teacher. I cannot remember her last name. Her first name is Dr. Janet, and I can't remember her last name. And she says, and she shared, she said, I am an educator, but when people are going to school, they are not going to be educated, they're going to be indoctrinated. And they said that anyone who is not a racist, by the time they graduate from high school, the system has failed. Because the system is designed to make people be better Americans based on America's concept of what a good American is. So if America was founded on us not being whole, people that have any color in us, then literally what it is doing is it's trying to make even those who have color, who have some melanin in them, it's trying to make them conform to a system that was never set up to be for their good. I love what Brother Dana said, and I'm really excited about him being here and having a chance to hear you speak, because one of the things he spoke of, and he went back to the concept of what was written in the book of Exodus, and of course the word Exodus means not only to come out, but to come out massively. And when the people that came out of there, people of color, left Exodus, they bankrupt the economy. And when they bankrupt the economy, that was what made the Pharaoh go and try to bring them back, because he realized that the free labor that he had for all of those years, he no longer had. And he wanted to bring them back because he had to pay them back retroactively of everything that they had. Because anytime a people can have inferior tools, inferior environment, inferior conditions, and still do excellent work, that intimidates an oppressor. And so the oppressor did not want to let go of someone that was that intelligent, because the fear is, what will they become if we don't control them? Bringing it to today's time, I'm a little bit older. I was born in 1957. And by being born in 1957, being down in Louisa County, Virginia, and in North Carolina with my parents, I experienced a level of racism that was a little bit different. I remember dancing for coins for people that didn't look like me. I remember being called that word, you know, by people who didn't look like me. And growing up, it didn't matter, because they gave me a shiny 50-cent piece for dancing. And so I grew up at a different time. And so now my son, who is 34, who is involved in everything, reading everything from Minister Louis Farrakhan to the Illuminati to the 5 Percenters. I mean, he is someone that is not conforming to my way of how I was raised, because this is, as you stated, Doctor, it's a different generation. One of the things that Dr. Dana shared and that we have seen in our history is that, and it says in Exodus chapter number 1, verse 11 and 12, it says that the more that they oppressed the people of God, the more they multiplied. And it was intimidating that you can oppress people who are in your mind inferior, and we're not going to even go into the history of the building of pyramids and all of that kind of stuff, but when you can oppress the people that are inferior in your mind, and yet they still continue to excel. So we create, as Brother Marcus said, a system that tries to break them, whether it is you keep them as slaves for all of these years, you rape their women, you take their children, and here's what you do. You don't give them money, you don't give them ability to take care of their families or their children, because you've already taken the children from them. Then when the so-called Emancipation Proclamation takes place, you now set them free and expect them to know how to handle money that you never gave them, and how to take care of children that you never allowed them to raise, and how to be loyal to women that you never let them have, and then you incarcerate them for not doing what the system never gave them the freedom to do in the first place. And so now, the way that they controlled our people then, and I'm going to pass this mic over to my brother in just a second, the way they controlled him, there was a gentleman whose last name was Lynch. And Mr. Lynch came up with the concept. I cannot remember his first name. He was a white gentleman. What was his name?
Willie.
Willie Lynch. Thank you so much. I told you I was born in 57. So now, Mr. Lynch came up with a policy or a way of how to control people of color. You would get the biggest, the strongest male. You would bring him out in front of all of the other people that looked like us. You would then break that individual's spirit, but keep it